I'd like to call to order the Hatfield Township Board of Commissioners Workshop Meeting for February 9, 2022. Roll call.
President Zipfel.
Here.
Vice President Rogers.
Here.
Commissioner Andrus.
Here.
Commissioner Lees.
Here.
Commissioner Zimmerman.
Here.
I would ask our Solicitor John Iannozzi to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening, if you would. Before we begin, I need to announce that the Board of Commissioners met in executive session to discuss personnel before tonight's meeting. Okay, is there a motion for approval of the agenda that is before you?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Lees, second by Commissioner Zimmerman. Any questions or comments? All in favor of approving the agenda before you say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments on agenda items only? Right? We're going to move on then to consent items. Is there a motion to move into the record the consent items listed in your agenda? Motion by Commissioner Andrus.
Second.
Second by Vice President Rogers. These items include the police report for the month of January, the North Penn Water Authority meeting minutes of December 21, and the HTMA monthly budget report for December 2021. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor of moving those into the record, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that is approved. Tonight is committee report evening. It's a night of committee reports. First is Planning and Zoning Committee. Vice President Rogers.
Thank you. The item for discussion tonight is the amendment to the multifamily elderly zoning district. That Ken, or do you?
That'll be me, Commissioner Rogers. Thank you. We have in your packet a proposed amendment to the multifamily elderly district. This was prompted by the development that is currently under construction, the Pulte development, Del Webb community, out at the corner of 40-Foot Road and Welsh Road. When that project was originally approved, it was approved as a result of a map amendment and a text amendment to allow that type of development on that property. And when it was done, we used a template from our other 55 and older communities that had been approved previously in the township. And those communities were of a different nature. Those were small units, mostly in the 1,500 to 1,600 square foot, one bedroom and a den, or sometimes a bedroom and a guest room, set up strictly to be occupied by 2 residents. And there was a provision in those old draft ordinances, or in those old ordinances that approved those 55 and older communities, that limited the number of permanent occupants to 2. It was never the intent of staff when we drafted the ordinance to apply that to the Pulte project. However, it worked its way into the final draft. Essentially what we're asking the board to do is to just amend the ordinance to result in the restrictions that we thought were going to be in there in the first place, and correct an error that we made when we drafted that ordinance. We sent the draft ordinance to the County Planning Commission and to the Local Planning Commission. We also discussed it with the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee. We have recommendations from our Planning Commission, unanimously recommending that the ordinance be passed. We have a recommendation from the County Planning Commission, which is one of the shorter recommendation letters I've ever seen from the county, which essentially says the Montgomery County Planning Commission supports this ordinance. Feel that it meets the goals and objectives of the County Planning Commission. We also had a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Subcommittee of the board. The ordinance has been advertised at this point. The Solicitor's Office has prepared an ad. There will be a public hearing in 2 weeks, and all of the information that I just talked about will be introduced as exhibits as part of that public hearing. but we wanted to be able to discuss it informally with the board this evening in case there were any questions that we could answer.
Questions?
Could you just summarize for everyone what the differences are? What amendment or changes we made?
Yeah, the only difference is to remove that restriction that says there can be no more than 2 permanent residents in each unit. What that would allow, and again, the difference between the Del Webb community and, for instance, Tarrington Village or Wyndham Woods or Hidden Meadow is that the units are designed to be much bigger. They're designed to have multiple bedrooms, and we would fully expect that people who move into one of the single-family homes out at the Del Webb community would understand that they'd be limited to 55 and older residents. However, if one of those residents had elderly parents who were in need of somewhere to live, they would be able to stay with their children. And they would all still be over 55. There would be no children in the school district. It would still produce a pattern that would result in low traffic generation. And that's the main benefit of these types of communities, is that you don't put children in the school district, you don't put a lot of cars on the road, but you do contribute to the tax base of the community. So, the objective of this kind of community would still be met. However, it would be met in a way that I think folks expected at the Del Webb community, so that if, for instance, my wife just lost her sister. Her sister's husband wanted to come and stay with us, and we were residents at Del Webb, we could let him come and stay with us. Under the current ordinance, we couldn't do that. So this just makes that provision so that if someone who lived in there had a need to bring in an elderly relative, they would be able to do that.
Yeah, and just to clarify too, without the amendment, like you mentioned, if that scenario would happen where a property owner would like to bring in their parent or their relative that is obviously above 55, today they would need to do what in order to make that happen?
They would have to go to the zoning hearing board. And that's the way it's set up in Tarrington Village and Wyndham Way, Wyndham Woods and Hidden Meadows and Arbor Green. And we have had applications to the zoning hearing board where someone needs constant care and they need a 24-hour nurse to be in the unit living with them. In that case, they would have to go to the zoning hearing board. And that's appropriate in those smaller communities with smaller dwelling units. But in the Del Webb community, it's really not appropriate. They're designed so that those units can easily accommodate another person.
Thank you, Ken.
Welcome.
And Ken, just for clarity, although I know the answer and you've already said it, this does not somehow negate the 55 or older obligation.
No, the basic language for occupancy, which is contained in the ordinance currently, limits the occupants to be 55 or older and states that there can be no one under the age of 19 living in any of the units for more than 2 weeks in a calendar year. So someone could come and visit their grandparents for 2 weeks in the summertime, but they couldn't be permanent residents.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions, comments? How about from residents? Any questions, comments? So Ken, tonight, the only thing we would do to the next meeting's agenda.
Correct, and the hearing is already advertised.
I can look around at my commissioners and see if I can get a consensus. Yep. Okay. Aaron, why don't we move this to the next meeting's agenda? Is it 2 weeks from now or 2 meetings from now?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay.
Okay, that's it for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Lees, Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Works Committee met tonight before the public meeting. Commissioner Jerry Andrus and I reviewed several projects with our Public Works Director, Tim Frank, along with Brian McAdam and Aaron Bebro. The most significant project we discussed was the road paving program for 2022. Knowing that this is one of the most important services local governments provide, the Commissioners budgeted over $850,000 for road paving and American with Disability ramps for 2022. That's almost 10% of our budget. We have preliminarily discussed the roads earlier this evening, but we'll work to finalize that list and formally authorize the bids at the regular meeting in 2 weeks. The bids will be awarded at the regular meeting in March. Tim Franks also updated the committee on a variety of other projects, such as tree removal, the delays in equipment purchasing due to supply chain issues happening everywhere, salt supply and winter storm preparedness, and ongoing employee training. We have a great track record of keeping our employees safe, and we're always looking for additional training to help us continue that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Okay, we're going to jump right into Parks and Recreation Committee. Commissioner Zimmerman.
Some new Get Fit classes will be starting at the end of the month. Yoga on Thursdays, Zumba on Sundays in the morning, and one called Remix on Mondays in the evening. March is a new one called Dr. Drill Instructor Program, where you march back to health. That'll be Saturdays from 8 to 9:30, School Road Park in the amphitheater, free in the month of March, and there'll be a charge beginning in April. We're offering 2 seminars up soon. One is estate planning, and that'll be on Wednesday, March the 2nd, 7 to 9. And they'll talk about things like, do I need a will? What is a living will? What's estate planning? And we'll have a speaker there that can answer those questions. Also, we've got pet CPR coming on Sunday, February the 20th. Cost varies, so just check out the website for more details and registration. Our Storytime series continues in February. We've been doing the featured book, The Computer Decoder, Dorothy Vaughan, a Computer Scientist by Andy Dean. Registration is $5 and includes a storybook and activity kit. Pick up your books and activity kits between February 7th. Now pictures of the family reading and complete the activities to storybook@hatfield.org by the 25th. Got some specialty camps coming up. Schools Out Camp during spring break. A video game art workshop in April. That'll be the 13th, the 14th, and the 9 to 12 here in the building for children 6 to 12, and there is a fee for that. Our summer specialty camps will have youth or young inventors camp, junior physicians academy, Challenger Sports, international soccer camp, and all the dates, the times, and the fees and details are at hatfield.org. Regular summer camp registration opens next week, Tuesday the 15th. Join Hatfield Summer Rec Camp for sports, games, crafts, swimming, field trips, special guests, and more, ages 6 to 12. And again, details and pricing, visit hatfield.org.
Public Safety Committee, we have an update. So we're getting much closer to making a conditional offer of employment for one future member of our Hatfield Police Department. Civil Service Committee met with Chief Tierney and Aaron Bebro on February 23rd, or will meet on the 23rd to certify the eligibility list. And at that meeting, we will be welcoming 2 new members, Tom McCann and Pat Hanrahan, at their first meeting. Once that list, which is approved at that meeting, presumably approved at that meeting, is certified, the commissioners will make an offer based on the recommendation at our regular meeting in 2 weeks. And that offer, of course, is contingent upon additional testing and other requirements being satisfied. And at that point, we'll be welcoming a new officer, and that means we would have a ceremony, a swearing-in ceremony, which is always exciting, sometime in the near future. All right, we're going to jump to Finance Committee. Commissioner Andrus.
Thank you. The township audit is nearly complete, or preliminarily complete. The final report won't be issued until the spring, once the auditor gets a few additional reports from the township's actuary regarding the pension plans. Notable highlights from 21. Total real estate tax collections were just shy of what was budgeted, a little less than 2%. Transfer tax collected was $780,000 compared to budgeted $450,000. Earned income tax came in slightly higher than what was budgeted. Local services tax came in slightly lower. Cable franchise fees continued to decline, becoming more popular amongst the residents. Permit revenue collected at a much higher rate than budgeted. So the total revenue collected was $11,537,845 compared to a budgeted amount of $11,460,050. real well in estimating what our revenue would be. Expenses, salt expenses from the extensive winter storms in '21 came in just $200 below what was budgeted. Electrical cost and maintenance on traffic signals came in under budget. Overall expenses came in less than 1% over what was budgeted. So we did a real good job of estimating, the staff did a real good job of estimating. So for '21, the net income was $12,951. That's pretty good job at putting our books together. Township is doing a good job of managing the budget, but is also not over collecting or overcharged residents for essential services. So we're spot on. We're acting at the rate we should be and not doing anything extraordinary.
Great. Okay, Township Managers Report. Aaron?
Thanks, Mr. President. I have one item here and just two additional items that I want to bring up to the residents and the commissioners. One regarding seasonal hiring. This is more of just a public service announcement, and to anyone that may have kids or grandkids or friends or anyone that's looking for work this summer. Like every organization, we are struggling to find the amount of employees that we need to run our facilities. The Aquatic Center, we hire roughly 150 mostly young people, 150 people to run that. And last year we were light on staff, and we're struggling a little bit in recruiting this year. So if you know anyone that wants to be a lifeguard or front desk or operations, and we have a lot of different positions there, send them my way, send them to Ashley and Christine, Parks Department. We're trying to recruit as much as we can, but it is certainly a struggle. Thanks to the commissioners and the pool board, the wages have increased, and we're trying to be as competitive as we possibly can. But we have, as everyone knows, a great facility that gets very crowded. It's popular, and we want to make sure it's running smoothly. So we just want to make sure we have the amount of people we need to run that. We also have a very successful summer camp program where we get 50 and 100 of local children in the area that come and spend most of their summer with us. So if there's anybody, maybe a future teacher or a current teacher that wants to work with the kids throughout the summer, please reach out to us. We want to make sure all these programs are running at full capacity, and we're trying to do our best to get back to a little bit of a normal feel this summer in 2022. Please send them our way. We're going to start recruiting more aggressively on social media and other avenues, and just doing our best as well as every other town and every other organization, just trying to be fully staffed, which has been an uphill battle. Two other items, commissioners, that sort of came in late before or after the agenda was sent out. Two grant opportunities that I mentioned to the commissioners just quickly in an email, and I just want you to be aware, and the residents, because in 2 weeks, there'll be a resolution to apply for both of them as part of the grant program. There's a new program. Senator Collette reached out, and we met with Senator and her chief of staff on Friday. Revenue generated from the online gambling. So people that are placing wages or bets on sports games and whatever you can get into online. There's a tax on those transactions, and that tax then gets redistributed throughout the Commonwealth. So through this grant program, we talked to Senator Collette about a bunch of our projects that we have going on, and she recommended that we apply for our stormwater management study that we'd like to do township-wide. She thought that has a lot of impact on the community, and it's obviously something that everyone's interested in right now. So we have a budgeted amount, but it would be certainly nice if we could get some grant funding to cover that, and then we just would have the money that we've already budgeted, we could use it toward some of the improvements that are recommended. So that's one that we're putting together. And then the other one is applying for funding to begin the process of designing our police station, or at least getting a sense on layout. We don't know exactly, as we put this application together, it's a quick turnaround. So we got to make sure what we're applying for is eligible through the program. We'll talk more about it in 2 weeks, but most likely preliminary design, maybe some architecture work, but to get that project moving. Commissioners acquired the property in 2020 at a really good rate at the height of COVID, and we've been talking about it informally for the most part over the past 2 years. There's been many other projects going on at the same time. We thought this might be a good way to kickstart the project and have the state pay for some of the soft costs associated with the building a police station. So would like to draft 2 applications in the coming weeks and then have a resolution in front of the board in 2 weeks if everyone feels like those are 2 worthy projects to secure funding to help move forward.
All right, that's everything? That's good.
That's it.
Like those grant opportunities for sure. Okay. Solicitor's report.
Nothing to report tonight.
All right, always good to hear nothing from your attorney. Citizens' comments. Any citizens' comments? Yes, sir. Yes, Ed.
Edward Tarter, Downing Drive. I've appeared before the township meetings on numerous occasions to express my displeasure and need of attention for the retention basin on Downing Drive. I feel it's only fair to go to the other side of the coin and express tonight that what Aaron said at the last meeting. He had the crew out there within the next week or two. It took place today. They were out there today, and I mean the whole crew. The working conditions were very difficult for them. Most of it was done by hand and not machine, but they've done at least half of the cattail removal that is necessary, and it's a work in progress. I assume that from what I was told, they'll be out tomorrow to continue the process. And I just wanted to thank Aaron and the township for getting the work started that was needed to be done.
Ed, we appreciate it. We oftentimes, we rarely, I should say, get someone that comes back and says, hey, thanks for doing that. So you know how important that is, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Sergeant, can we put that feedback on a loop? And maybe replay at each meeting, if you don't mind, on the website? Thank you, though. Appreciate it.
All right, any other citizens' comments? All right, then hearing none, unless there's something else for the good of the order, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Vice President Rogers, second by Commissioner Lees. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thanks for coming out, folks.